So good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone joining us on the Unstoppable podcast show today. My name is Jennifer Hardy and today I am joined by Dr. Tari Mack. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for coming on. I'm really excited to talk about you, what you do, and you've got such important work in the world that you're doing at the moment, and I would love to hear all about it. So off the back of that, tell us, what is it that you do?
So by trade, I'm a clinical psychologist, but what my new passion, my emerging passion really is helping people create and find the relationships that they deserve.
Yeah.
And, in 15 years working with so many beautiful people who have been in relationships and or looking for relationships, I've really come to learn the ways in which we get in our own way when we're trying to find love. And I want to help everybody understand what they might be doing that's blocking their path to a healthy, loving relationship.
Do you think that when it comes to that, when it comes to the blocks that happen, do you see patterns emerge? Do you see, these things coming up time and time again before someone does a little bit of work to understand why it keeps on kind of unfolding the way it does when it comes to relationships?
Yes, absolutely. And that's actually a lot of what my book is going to be talking about, and the coaching that I do focuses on. So what I've learned in life and relationships is that we all keep getting the same lessons until we figure out what our lessons are. And then we can learn those lessons and understand when the universe is providing us with tests or learning opportunities to do something different and finally move forward and transform and move along on our journey to love. So yes, we continue to repeat the same patterns unconsciously. As humans, we are very unconscious. So we just do the things that we know without really thinking about it. Yeah. And we need awareness about what it is our lessons are so that we can finally learn them and do things differently.
Yeah. And like you said, it's sometimes very hard to see these routines that you're getting yourself into, isn't it? So
yes.
It's the other people that have to point them out. It's
yes, absolutely.
You're doing the same thing and expecting the same result.
Right.
There's actually a quote about that, isn't there? It's saying that, it's madness to continue to do the same thing and expect a different result. But it is so true. We do tend to just kind of get lost in ourselves and think this is the way it's meant to be and just keep moving forward. So tell me a little bit about your book. You did mention it there, and it is called It's Not Them, It's You. Discover how every relationship is a test. That's really, really interesting. Can you go into a little bit more depth with me on that?
Yes. So the work that I do is helping people understand what their specific work is. And we discover what your work is based on what the lessons and tests you've been getting throughout your life from the universe. So for instance, one thing that people so the common denominator in all of your relationships is you. Even though, we may tell the story that there are no good partners out there, or, I just can't find somebody who I want to date. In fact, we may be choosing the wrong partners. We may be choosing partners that don't meet our needs. And that's because even though we think we know what we want and we're clear on what we want, our unconscious attraction keeps us choosing partners that can't meet our needs. And so making the unconscious conscious, understanding how our old roles and patterns help us choose the wrong people for us is a big part of understanding how to change that. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely, of course, definitely. So let's go back to the beginning of all of this, because you seem so passionate and on fire for what you do now. But I can imagine there must have been some work that you did as well, personally, and of course with everyone that you've worked with, that has even gotten to this point. So let's rewind back to, your kind of younger years. Did you always know that you were going to do work in this kind of capacity? I know that you were doing psychology, your doctorate in psychology. So did you have a different path at one point, or was relationships always a thing that you were wanting to look at?
Relationships were always a thing that I was looking for in my personal life. And, you know, as it is, oftentimes our passion emerges from our own journey.
Yeah.
And so, you know, professionally, I've been a psychologist. I worked generally with people. And just in the last, I would say 5 years, because of my own journey and my own understanding of what my work is, I've also been able to help other people understand what their work is. So on a personal note, I am becoming very aware, and I have become very aware over the last several years, that my work revolves around setting boundaries in relationships.
Yeah.
Because I'm such an empathic person, it's so easy for me to be attuned to my partner and to what other people need from me or want from me, and to just kind of meet those needs. But I've come to learn in the last few years that it's not my job to make somebody else happy. It's my job to focus on me and to set boundaries and to communicate those boundaries to other people. And, you know, that's not just my struggle. That is a struggle of so many people. It's actually one of the chapters in my book. You know, it's hard work. And the way that you know you're doing your specific work is that it's so incredibly hard and uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and you have to really lean into it and be willing to be uncomfortable and trust that if you do your work, you will be rewarded. The universe will reward you, because your job here is to transform and grow. And you can only do that if you do what's uncomfortable to you.
Definitely. And as you say that, one of the things that is uncomfortable for me on a personal level is setting those boundaries, is having that conversation around, this is how I feel and this is what I'm not able to give you. Like, I find it so difficult, like you were saying there, as an empath, to do that. And I know that there'll be people out there that go, how do you even begin to set a boundary? What would be some of your words of wisdom there when it comes to actually having that conversation with people without, you know, well, it is uncomfortable. I don't think there's any way of, you know, getting around it. You know, it is sometimes uncomfortable to say, especially to a partner, you know, I can't give you what maybe you're asking for. Like, I'm strong on the fact that I need to be happy first and foremost here.
Right. And I think as women, you know, we're socialized to nurture and take care of.
Absolutely.
And, you know, we don't get the message that we're supposed to nurture and take care of ourselves. So one of the things that I help people understand is what fear stands in the way of you doing your work.
Okay.
You know, and setting boundaries, like we said, is a common piece of work for people. And the fear there is typically that if we are not accommodating, if we're not meeting other people's needs, then we will be rejected, we will be abandoned.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you have to really understand what the underlying fear is. And fear plays a role in keeping all of us from doing whatever work it is we're supposed to be doing, whether it's about loving ourselves more or moving at a slower pace or really paying attention to red flags, you know, or dealing with rejection in a way that's honoring to you. Fear is what really keeps us from doing our work. So in terms of setting boundaries, it's understanding the fear, and it's also getting in touch with what boundaries feel good to you, because we can't communicate our needs and where our boundaries are if we don't have a connection to ourselves. So the first part is really understanding, what do I need? How do I feel? What boundaries actually feel good to me? Yeah. And then you can set about communicating those.
Amazing. Thank you so much. But I needed that answer just as much as anyone else who's listening.
Yeah.
So when it comes to so what you do now as well, and specifically choosing partners.
Yes.
Why do you feel that it is the case that some of us do continue to choose partners that just cannot fulfill our needs?
Well, because so unconscious attraction works in two ways. The first kind of unconscious attractions leads us to be attracted to people that reinforce how we feel about ourselves. Okay. So I'll say that one more time. We are attracted to people who reinforce how we feel about ourselves. Yes. So In order to work on that kind of unconscious attraction, we need to build our relationship with ourselves. We need to learn how to be self-affirming, self-loving, self-compassionate. And when we learn how to love ourselves, we shift and our attraction shifts, and we attract partners that can treat us in that loving and affirming way.
Yeah,
so
that makes so much sense.
Yes. I mean, self-love and self-acceptance is really the magic bullet.
Yeah.
And for some of us that comes easily. For others of us, it is, life work. It is really difficult. And again, there's fear that lies there. What's going to happen if I really choose to acknowledge who I truly am and work to accept that? Some people feel like they're going to get lazy. Some people have stories about why they're not lovable. And, so there can be a lot of work around that. The other kind of unconscious attraction says that we will continue to play out the roles that we had in childhood. We will continue to recreate the patterns that we had with our caregivers in childhood to try to finally get our needs met. But when we're doing that in an unconscious way, we always choose people that can't meet our needs. So for instance, if you had, this is just very kind of a cliche example, but if you had a father who, worked a lot or wasn't very emotionally available, you are going to be attracted to men who recreate that pattern with you, because what you're used to is working to get somebody's attention and working to get noticed. That's what feels like love to you.
Yeah.
But in fact, if you're choosing men who are emotionally unavailable, you're never going to get what you actually want, which is nurturing and emotional connection.
Yeah.
So you have
balance as well.
Yes. So you have to understand kind of you have to understand yourself going back a long way to really understand how you might be choosing people that can't meet your needs. Yeah. And the cool thing is, awareness begins the change process. Yeah. It's sort of like if you just like pay attention to your hand right now, just, put your hand up, pay attention to it, see how it feels. All of a sudden you can feel the energy there. You can feel it tingling just by noticing and bringing awareness to something. It begins to change your experience of it. Absolutely. So that's the exciting part.
So do you think, and I think I can imagine the answer is going to be yes, but can you think that someone who has had, relationship after relationship that has failed, I know I say the word failed very loosely. I actually probably mean, that they have had to work through and there's been some hardship there and they've moved on from it and then they've went in. Do you think that by doing some of the work that you're able to coach, that can be broken? And they can then go on and actually have a really fulfilling relationship with themselves and with a partner too.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. That is the kind of work that I've been doing with people for years. And once you identify the specific work, then you will be able to recognize when you're getting an opportunity to do that work. Yeah. Before, if you're just dating and you're in relationships and you don't know what your work is, you don't know what to change. You're kind of it's kind of like dating while blindfolded, right? You're just going to do what you know. Yeah. But if you become aware of what your specific work is, you can change it. Yeah. And the outcome changes. You can create miracles. You can create a relationship that you never even knew existed. And you hope for, you
hope for. I think there'll be people out there very happy just to hear you saying those words. It's very comforting to people. I know myself, I've got friends who think, that's it. Like they're destined for failed relationships. And I try and say, that's not the case. No. Obviously I don't do the kind of work you do, so I don't really know sometimes the way to word it for them. But what you said has really resonated. And I hope if you're listening out there that you understand that there is a way to change all of this. And something else that I find really interesting is obviously the tests and lessons that we do get from the universe. And like you said, it's really about becoming aware and seeing them. But how do you feel that we can recognize when these tests and lessons are happening from the universe? And also, how do you successfully then navigate through them towards love and this transformation that we want and we desire?
Right. So the first step is really awareness. You're not going to be able to see the tests and lessons until you become aware of what your work is. Yeah. So for example, I worked with a client whose work was really valuing herself. So it used to be that on a first date, she would show up and really focus on trying to win her date over. Really being focused on, does he like me? Am I good enough? You know, flirting and being charming and winning him over. But she was not focused on trying to figure out if she liked him.
Yeah.
Or trying to ask him questions and get to know him to see if they were compatible.
Yeah.
So when we brought awareness to that, she, you know, on her dates, she would go in and kind of feed herself before the date positive words of affirmation. And during the date, she would put her attention on really getting to know the guy and listening to what he was saying. And she let go of needing acceptance and approval. Of course, that doesn't go away right away all on its own, but she shifted her purpose of a date and she shifted her attention. Yeah. And every time she did that, she moved along. Yeah. And now she's in a relationship with somebody that is compatible with her. You know, she chose somebody based on her needs instead of waiting to be chosen based on what a guy was looking for.
Do you feel as if women do that much more than men?
Yes. I mean, not exclusively. I've definitely worked with men who struggle with that as well. But yes, I mean, the thing that women don't understand is we have the power.
Yeah,
we really do. We have the power to choose the men, but we have to own the power.
That is so true. It's so true. Because like you say, I've recognized when I've been on dates, very few that I have, you know, I've recognized that as well. Like it's as if we, and you know, I hear it from all my friends too, and women that I work with. It is about, well, I hope he likes me. It's never
exactly
this conversation about, I wonder if he will actually be the right fit for me. That's never
exactly.
Isn't it so strange?
Yeah, when you approach a date from this knowing that you are worthy, you are an amazing woman with things to offer.
Yeah.
It shifts everything. Then you're selecting somebody that is good enough for you, that will make a good partner for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, it's been so incredible to speak to you. Thank you so much. So tell us a little bit as well about how we can find you on the online space. I think a lot of what you've said today will really resonate with my audience out there. So tell us how we can find you and how we can get to know even more about what you do.
Sure. So my website is drtarimack.com, DRTARIMACK.com. And there are plenty of ways that we can work together. Right now, I'm running a kind of a mini program where we talk, and I, within an hour, will be able to identify what your specific work is. And then we can work together for a couple weeks to help you identify your tests as they come up. It's really fun. It can be super transformative. So you can find that on my website. I'm also on Instagram at Dr. Tari Mack, and I'm on Facebook. My blog is called The Path of Joy. Fantastic. So you can find me in those 3 places. I have a blog. You can, you know, there's all kinds of free inspiration there. But yeah, I would love to like talk more to your audience and answer questions.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit as well, when is your book due out? When is that going for publish?
So I'm hoping that it will be coming out in March. I'm kind of putting the finishing touches on it right now, and then it's going to my editor. So you should look for it in March, and it's called It's Not Them, It's You. Discover how every relationship is a test.
Excellent.
And I want to get it in the hands of every single woman in the universe.
Wow.
Yes, exactly.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Let's do it. It has been a real pleasure to speak to you today. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing some of your wisdom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Jen. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you. So everyone out there, please go and follow and get to know a little bit more about the work that our incredible Dr. Tari does, because already in just 15 minutes there, I have learned so much. So I'm sure that you all have to, and have so much more to learn when it comes to this. I think it's really important as women that we start owning our power, and actually putting ourselves first as well.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you so much again for all of you listeners. I appreciate you so much, and we will be bringing you more exciting episodes soon. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and I will speak to you all very soon. Take care. Bye.